All right, morning, guys. I hope this finds you well and safe and healthy. And just kind of want to say that this is a new way for us to kind of address the material for the class, especially now since Governor DeWine has made his proclamation that schools are going to be closed till the fall at least. So we're going to try to get this information out to you and see how this works with you trying to get the information. So first thing I want to do is I want to kind of give you a breakdown. You've got a quiz this Friday. This is the material that we're going to talk about starting the day with the vocation of marriage, and then I'd like to have a test on marriage next Friday. That would be May 1st. And so we need to kind of get through this material and work towards that test next week. So we'll just kind of see how this goes, and we'll probably do the test on Moodle like you can do in the quizzes. First thing I want to do before we move into the vocation of marriage is I want to do a quick review of kind of marriage as a sacrament. The way this whole lesson started, we talked about marriage as a permanent, faithful, and fruitful union of a man and a woman who have entered into a covenant relationship of love with each other and God. Now, I want to take a look at those different aspects of that and just kind of review real quick, and then we'll move on. So when we talk about permanent, all right, permanent obviously, as we know, means forever. All right, so that marriage as a sacrament in the eyes of the church is forever. That a civil divorce, all right, when we talk about a civil divorce, we're talking about in a court of law, does not dissolve the bonds of a valid marriage. Okay, so marriage, as we said, is a covenant. All right, a covenant. We all know what a covenant is. We've covered this over and over again, and you've covered it in other religion classes. But that a covenant is a bond, right? It's a blood oath. And in this case with marriage, it's indissoluble, which means it cannot be dissolved. And as the sacramental aspect of it, it is sealed and strengthened by God. So this was all stuff that we've already covered, but I just want to kind of review this real quick. And that by saying this, by it being sealed and strengthened by God, that gives us part of that faithful aspect of it. And that marriage is a vocation for life, right? It is a vocation. When we talk about marriage being faithful, again, from a sacramental quality, is that God is present in every aspect of our lives as husband and wife. So this is the spiritual component that exists within marriage. And one of the things that we're expected to do within the church is to go to what is called pre-Cana. If you've got older brothers and sisters that have gotten married, you may have heard them talk about the pre-Cana that they have to go to. This is this premarital instruction. This is what they have to go through before they can get married. It's a marriage preparation. The thing about this is that what happens with marriage sometimes is we get wrapped up in the wedding, right? The clothes, the flowers, the food, the music, and we neglect the other aspect of the marriage, and that's the marriage. That's the two people becoming one. That's the spiritual aspect of it. Children, finances. Who's gonna be in charge of finances? How are you going to deal with finances? How many kids do you want to have? Those types of things. So when we talk about pre-Cana, they focus in on those types of things in a marriage. All right. So the last part of it is it's fruitful, and I already mentioned that when we were talking about pre-Cana. The fruitful part of it is that you are willing to accept children lovingly from God. All right. So this is the couple totally giving of themselves in sexual intercourse, and that this sexual intercourse, the sexual relationship they have within marriage, has two purposes. One, it is to be unitive, right? Unitive is the bonding. Right? Well, what happens is that a hormone is created called oxytocin. Oxytocin is called the bonding hormone, the superglue of the heart. So this bonds the couple together. But the other aspect of it is that it is procreative. Now, when we talk about being procreative, it means that we are open to having children. So there's nothing we would do that would prevent us from having children. So now that we have kind of reviewed real quick the idea of marriage as a sacrament, I mean, there are other elements there with witnesses, and the priest as being the normal minister of the sacrament. And the other thing about this is I want to focus on with that is that the couple marries each other, right? The priest doesn't marry the couple marries each other. So really, when you talk about the ministers of the sacrament, it's the couple that are the ministers of the sacrament, because they're the ones that are actually marrying each other. It's not that the priest is marrying them; that the priest is just the witness of the community, and also the witness of the church and the state, because the priest has to be licensed by the state. All right, so moving on, we'll talk about marriage as a vocation, and I've posted the video of Heather. You should have looked at it before the break. I posted again. I just kind of want you to take a quick look at it again, just to kind of get this idea of marriage in a vocational sense, and what it means to be in a vocation with marriage. And so when we look at marriage as a vocation, yes, it is a liturgical celebration. It is a sacrament, but it is more than just a personal private matter. Yeah, yes, it is your wedding, but it is also a public act, right? And that's the idea of the priest, the best man, the maid or matron of honor, and the people being gathered there. That it is a public act, just like baptism is a public act. Right? It's not just your family getting together so that you can be made a member of the church. You have people there to witness the fact that you are creating this bond with one another. Right? So you have people that are there to witness. As we know, it is a celebration. It's definitely a celebration. That's the food and the hall and all of that. So it's to celebrate the love that these two people have for one another, and it also is there as a public announcement of the promise, the covenant that these two people have made before God, before the church, and before society as well. So, this is what this is all about. It's kind of like when you take an oath of office, that you do it before the public. The public witnesses you becoming the president of the United States, and that you celebrate this declaration of your commitment to this life. Okay, so now moving on, as you see on the outline that's before you, is that once you're married, all right, what happens next? Okay, and that again, this is continuation of our Christian life that we began at baptism, and just like with all the other sacraments, we receive grace. Now, we've covered grace over and over again, and there's two definitions there that you can use for grace. One is that it's God's life and love in us, and the other thing we need to know about grace is that God gives us His grace. There's nothing that we have to do to earn His grace. It is a free and undeserved gift from God, and it allows us to live with God, and it is also a sign of His love for us. Right, that grace is that strength that helps us to deal with those things that may go against our Christian lifestyle, our Christian beliefs, our Christian practices. And so grace is that strength that hopefully that we get, that can help us to face the good times and the bad times, like what we're dealing with now. So the next thing is that it is this gift that helps us to follow his life, right? The fact that we are called Christians, right? As a Christian, we follow the lifetimes and teachings of Jesus. And so this grace gives us this strength to help us to do this. And also we have the gift of the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is there also to help us to deal with those struggles that we face in our lives. Again, and we've talked about confirmation, right? Confirmation is our own personal Pentecost, and that Pentecost is the Holy Spirit coming upon us, giving us that strength to go out and preach and teach the good news. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to go down on Fountain Square and preach. It could just be the way that you live your life. And one of the other things about grace, which is important, is that it helps us to live in our commitment, right? To love, honor, and cherish in sickness and in health, in good times and in bad. If you notice on here, there's 2 links to YouTube. I'll put those on Moodle so you can actually access those. And basically, they're 2 jewelry commercials. And these 2 commercials, yes, they deal with somebody trying to sell you diamond jewelry. But it also deals with this idea of the commitment, the things that are involved with 2 lives becoming one in God. So take a look at those. I think that they're good commercials for this purpose, and so that's why that they're on there. And so when we talk about this idea of grace, right, that grace is, again, not only the strength that God gives us, but it's the support, right? The Holy Spirit is there to support us, and so it allows you to support each other. And this is one of the things with regard to marriage. And it was some of the questions that you saw on the quiz when they're talking about mixed marriages, when you're not you've got a Catholic and a non-Catholic Christian that are getting married, where you've got what is called disparity of cult, which is where you have a non-Catholic a Catholic who is marrying a non-Christian. The whole thing about marriage is that it's more than just the public ceremony. It's these 2 lives come together, and you're supposed to support each other in all things that you do, and your faith is part of that as well. So that's the idea there with letter E, where it talks about support each other as they strive for holiness. And the next one is about the idea of children. All right, so when we talk about having children, it is to raise your children. This is one of the things that pre-K does, especially if you've got a situation where the couple is not of the same religion. So you've got a Catholic and a non-Catholic Christian. How are you going to raise the children? Are you going to raise them Catholic, or are you going to raise them Methodist or Lutheran or whatever it is? Same thing with regard to raising the children as Catholic or as a non-Christian. How are you going to deal with that? So the idea is that you nurture these children in their faith. Right? That is why that you are in a faith-filled environment now. And so so many of you went to Catholic grade school. You're going to a Catholic high school. This is the idea of nurturing children in their faith. And the fact is that we talk about the family. Right? The family is known as the domestic church, and that relates to letter G, where it talks about to contribute to the good not only for the family, which again is the domestic church, but also for church and society. Right? So it's being good people, and how are we going to respond to this call through the course of our lives? Okay. We're going to stop there because, we're about 10, 15 minutes here. And if you follow this for too long, obviously you're going to get bored, turn it off, and lose all focus on this. But here's the thing about this. This is going to be posted on Moodle. You'll have the opportunity to go back and go over it and fill in the blanks. It will help you to prepare for the quiz on Friday, and as well for the test on next Friday on May 1st. So just take care of yourselves. Be healthy. Be safe. Be smart, and we'll all get through this. It's tough, but we'll get through it, and we'll move forward. And that's what we're doing. We're just going to continue to move forward. So take care. I will post the other part. We'll start with parents, and then we'll move on from there on Thursday. So take care.